time to wrap it up. And I'm like, okay, no,
Life is just beginning, though.
right. It's like, because here's the thing, we at 40, at 45, 50, you actually now know the things you thought you knew when you were 20. You actually
That's
know the
right.
answers now.
That's
So
right.
why would you not take advantage of that information, that experience and that knowledge and use it to do a podcast or to whatever
Exactly.
you want to do? It's like we actually know what we're doing. That's the craziest thing to me to think you've gone through all these struggles, you've gone through all these experiences, you actually know the answers to the test. Here's the test again, and you're like, nah, I don't think I can do it. That's wild to me.
But hey,
So
so Troy Horne, you are you've done Broadway shows, so you're an actor. You've written books, so you're an author. But most importantly, you're a dad, dude. So
yeah,
let's
yeah.
talk about all that stuff. I want to talk about your books, and I want to talk about first of all, I want to talk about your music career and
Mm.
your Broadway experience and how that shaped you into what you're doing now. And I want to talk ultimately, and talk about fatherhood because that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, man. So yeah, music was a big learning ground because, telling your parents at any stage in life that you want to be a musician is always like, that's great, but it's funny because my mom was the one that kind of set the whole journey on course, I guess if you will, because I was a kid at like around 10 or 11 and I was singing around the house. And she's like, this Sunday you're gonna sing in church. And I was like, nah. And she's like, yes. And so I do that like 10 or 11 years old, nervous as heck. The nerves where you get the heart beating and you can hear your heart in your ears, that kind of nervous, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I sing and they give me a standing ovation. And from that moment on, it was like, this is what I want to do. So yeah. And dealt with all the fears and trials and you can't do this, is unrealistic, so that kind of set everything in motion when I had kids, because people always say what you want to do. It's like, what's your plan B or what's your fallback plan? And I always tell them, I go, look, they told me the same thing. No matter what, I told them, don't have a fallback plan, go all in your plan A. So maybe I'm reckless, I don't know, but that's what I did. And that's what I'm like, because you're here to do something, so do that thing, I don't know. So
I under completely understand that. So I don't play music.
mhm.
I don't play music. I can barely sing. I did sing choir when I was in high school,
Nice.
but I love music, man. I love all music. Um, I'm 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 really kind of partial. I really like rock and roll and heavy metal,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I like a little bit of everything. So classical music, like
yeah.
very rarely, but I do like classical music. I mean, you've heard of oh shoot, what's their name? Now I can't remember what their their name is of the band I'm trying to think of, but they do Christmas music and stuff.
Huh.
Uh, now I got to look it up, man. But yeah,
Nice.
I'm a
Like,
big fan.
yeah,
I'm a
like,
big
gotta
fan
know.
of music, and
Mm,
my middle son, he's 16. He just
mhm.
turned 16, but he loves playing music. He loves
Nice,
making music.
nice,
He plays a little bit of bass guitar. He plays a little bit of viola.
nice.
He plays keyboard. He wants to get into keyboarding and all that, but he's like self-taught. So
Yeah.
he has like no formal instruction. So he's really good at it. I just can't figure out where he got the talent from because he definitely didn't get it from me.
That's the thing. They all have their own little journeys that they come with that are told. Like, for instance, my son who plays sports, I'm a musician. So trying to learn and actually learning that journey and researching it for him was totally something new. What I
Right.
found though, is that they're pretty much all the same journey. They pretty much all require similar things. So, if that's any.
Discipline, discipline,
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
discipline, especially with like, so with sports, you do have like the athletic discipline, but you
Hmm.
also have to find the discipline to like even when you don't want to do anything or you don't want to go out there to the court or the baseball diamond or the
Yep.
gridiron, when you
Yep.
don't want to do those things, you do it anyway,
Yeah.
and simply for the love of the game. And music is the same way. Like I'm sure like there's a lot of musicians out there that tour the country that I mean they're
Yeah.
playing the same song over and over and over and over again. And the people listening to that,
Right. Right.
they don't I don't know if we don't necessarily think about it,
Right.
but like I know I'm not really thinking about how many times the band sung that particular song to any crowd over the last week or so, or how many times have they played that? But it does get
Yes.
incredibly monotonous sometimes.
Oh my gosh. Well, funny. I was when I was doing rock band music because I love rock music. My first turn on to really like rock music was Nirvana to kind of date myself. And I was like, dude, this is something. So anyway, so we're touring with Steve Miller and those guys, and I'm sitting there watching them play, and I'm like, uh, how many times have these guys played these songs? I mean, I thought, we were getting tired of playing them. We just joined like their little tour, but I'm like, these guys have been playing these songs for what? The whole time I've been alive, at that at that time,
Right,
That's
right.
kind of wild, yeah.
Trans-Siberian Orchestra is who I was trying to think of
Ah,
earlier.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I
Yeah,
love their music, and it's kind of a mix of classical
yeah,
and rock and roll. And
yeah.
when when I was a kid, I really really loved their music, and I love the it really got me into classical music. It really did.
Nice.
And so I really enjoy things like that. Not to the point where I will listen to it in my daily life, but if like Trans Siberian Orchestra is coming to like Kansas City, I'm
Right, right,
going.
right.
Like I love them, and they come every year. So, and I haven't
Oh,
been in
nice.
years, but um, I love I have a love of the arts, I guess you
Uh,
would say,
yeah,
and the music to me it's so beautiful coming
hmm,
out of regardless of which instrument it's coming out of or person it's coming out of. I just
yeah,
love music and the way it makes you feel, and even the sad stuff, I love the
yeah,
way it makes you feel when you're sad, and the upbeat stuff. Like music is now engineered.
yeah.
It's engineered to make you feel a certain way with certain tones and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And so once I learned that, it was like
Hmm.
I can use that with every song, even
Yeah,
back before it started being engineered. And that's when music had a soul, and I
yeah.
think that's what's missing from mainstream music today is it has no soul to it.
You know, as a musician, I think the thing that we have kind of the disservice we have done music in popular music and stuff like that is the desire to have younger musicians do the writing of the art. And the only reason why I say that is because when you go back to like, I don't know, let's pick any classical band from the let's even go like to the 50s and 60s. Their lives were not as easy as
Right.
young people's lives are now. And you know, there was some life that came behind the music and stuff they were singing because there was some hardship. And I think you have to have some life to create art. So if you don't really have like life behind your words, it kind of makes it a little difficult to create art for people
Yeah.
globally, I think. That's just my
Yeah.
opinion. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Well, I mean that kind of speaks to like one of the books you wrote, like Struggles, man.
Yeah.
What was the title of that book? I'm looking for it right now, but I can't find it.
So I've written
Um,
one called you talk Mental Toughness for Young Athletes was the one that I wrote for the kids. And then I wrote Middle Management, which is the one that's coming out here in a couple of weeks or so. Middle Management is about life after 40 and really
yeah,
rediscovering yourself and your and rediscovering your purpose and what you want to do in life. And so
Well, I
that
so I
journey's fun.
what I was thinking of, like the struggles
Yeah,
and trials and tribulations and things that we go through that make us who we are. A lot of
yeah,
people don't realize that the struggle is good. You
yeah.
know,
It's
the
so good.
struggle is
Yeah,
it's where we come up with problem solving
yeah,
and how we get to how we became who we are.
yeah,
And I think we've made it a little too easy for a lot of things. Like making music, for instance, AI can do
yeah.
wonders with music. And
Right,
again, it misses that soul piece of
right.
like it takes, you know, other people's lyrics written by
Yes,
a human, and
yeah.
then it puts soulless music
Right.
and voices behind it. I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast the other day. He was talking
Yeah.
about AI music, and
Mm,
he's gotten into 50 Cent, and it's AI
yes,
music,
yes.
soul, in a style of soul
Right.
with 50 Cent's lyrics.
Yes.
And I mean, it's good. It's some
Right, right,
I would listen to it as like a goof, but
right,
I'm not going to put it in the CD player and jam out to it, you know what I mean?
right, right, right.
And it's I think that we forget how important that struggle is really, and it I see that now. I just turned 40 this year.
Mm,
I see that every day in my everyday life, especially raising kids.
yeah.
And my 22-year-old son, or 21-year-old son, I guess, he kind of left the nest before I was ready for him to leave the nest. And he was really immature and couldn't save money to save his life. And as soon as he gets it, it's gone. I'm like,
Mm,
bud, you gotta change that up, you know. Like it was a requirement for him to save 50% of his paycheck when he lived with me, and that may be one of the reasons that pushed him out of the nest, you
yeah.
know. But now he's out on his own and he's broke, and so he's like, Dad, I'm so broke, you know. I can't even afford to pay attention. And I was like, you know, I tried to warn you. I tried to warn
Yes,
you.
yes.
So this studio is my garage. I modified my
Nice.
garage, and this was
Right.
his bedroom before he moved out.
Uh,
So, I mean, now he can't come back. So
yeah, yeah.
it's like, and so I was talking to him on the podcast one day, and I was like, do you think that we made it look too easy? Because, you know, we go on vacations like Universal Studios
Yeah,
and to the mountains,
yeah,
and we always have internet. We've
yeah,
had cable since he was a little tyke. You know, we struggle differently. I grew up very, very poor. And so that's how it shaped me to be the way I am now. I don't have to struggle anymore because I know
right,
all that shit that I went through before,
right, right.
and I use those lessons in my everyday life.
Yeah.
And I didn't I didn't teach my kids, man. I didn't teach that struggle to my
You did.
kids.
You did. And the reason why I said it is because they watch us way more than they listen to us. I've learned along the way. And it's like, he knows, and he knows every word you're going to say. He knows every direction you're going to give. He can
Yeah, he
recite
does.
your lines to you better than you can. So he
Yeah, he
knows.
does.
And I have a 20-year-old who's turned 21. So it's like they know. It's just they have to go through the things to get back to what you taught them. They have to go through oh, that's what my dad meant. Oh, that's why he said this. They have to have their own experience. And as a dad, speaking to a dad, it is, it's hard. It's
Yeah,
hard to
yeah,
watch them struggle,
yeah.
but they know. They know what to do.
So it's a little easier for me to watch them struggle because like sometimes it's funny, right? I mean, sometimes it's like the answer is so obvious, son, you
Right.
know, and if as long as it's not something serious, you know,
Right,
like he's
right, right.
starving or something.
Right.
But now now he's got a kid of his own, and
Hmm.
he's like, Dad, it's so much different. You know, why? Like, it's so much different than I thought it would be. And
Hmm.
it's so much fun and everything. And he loves being a dad.
Yeah.
But I asked him, I was like, did we make it look too easy because we're doing
Yeah.
all these things? And
Uh,
he's like, I think that's why I am so broke right now, is because I try to live the way you do.
right.
And I was like, see, yeah, I struggled when you were a baby. I struggled. Like I ate ramen noodles while you were eating good food, and we were eating, dude, there was one winter where we had a hamburger helper for every meal, and that was after I had kids, and like that struggle was there for us, but
Yeah,
I
man.
didn't make it look like a struggle because I'd been so much worse.
Yes,
I,
yes.
when I was a kid, there was a couple times where I had to wonder where my next meal was coming from. And
Mm,
I, this is life for me,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
don't panic in situations like that. I find solutions,
Right,
and
right.
that's where he's watching. And because now when it's a little difficult for him now at his age to not call me,
Mm,
but I've gotten to the point where when he does call me to ask for advice, I make him work it out
yeah.
himself just by talking to him, and it does work. And
Mm.
the struggles, I don't know why people try to I don't know why people try to avoid the struggles instead of just going through the trials and tribulations that you got to go through, and nothing that's worth having is easy.
Yeah, but let's be honest, both of us. If we didn't have to go through those, would we choose like to go through those? I mean, those moments where
True.
I was like had my car repossessed, or you're shopping at the red sticker meat section, you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, where it's
Yes.
like 50% off used today.
Yes.
Would we choose to do that? Absolutely not.
Right, right.
But we
I
had
guess that is
to.
true. Yes, that's true. That is very
Yeah.
true. So I guess like now in my adult life, and this again speaks to your book, Life After 40, right?
Yeah.
In my day-to-day life, I try to seek out things that are hard.
Mm,
Before we started recording, I had mentioned that I just started growing my own cannabis.
yeah.
And dude, it's one of those things where you get really intimidated by it, but it's not a big deal, right?
Right.
So it's a weed and it wants to grow. That's the
Right.
bottom line. It wants to grow. So no matter what
Right.
you do to it, it wants to grow.
It's gonna
And
figure it out.
right, exactly. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what I did in the process. I was super intimidated in the beginning. I spent way too much money on it, getting equipment and prepared and everything. And then once I got into it, I was like, oh, it's just like growing anything else, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so I have enjoyed it, and I've learned a lot just in this first, short. I just started a few months ago, and I just
Nice.
got my first batch. And I've learned so much in that process that I was like, oh, this literally applies to everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I take those lessons that I've learned from this and I apply it in other places. But I seek out things that are hard
Yeah.
because they're ultimately that struggle now is enjoyable. And there's
Yeah.
some kind of I have really bad
Mm-hmm.
anxiety, and most of the time I lean into it because I
Mm.
get some sort of like thrill or a high
Mm.
from doing shit that's
Uh,
that's hard and
yeah.
anxiety inducing. And I took that lesson from Joe Rogan, really. And I
Mm.
just started a few years ago. Just lean into the hard stuff, and
Yeah.
it becomes more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you're like, I did that,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So when did you decide that you were going to write a book?
Well, the first one was because my youngster was struggling with just the world of youth sports. And so I was like, I'm struggling with trying to help him. So let me write about, kind of our journey because I couldn't find any support, like in books or whatever to kind of show us how to do it. And I'm like, well, let me create one because I don't want the person behind me to have to go through what I'm going through, which is trying to figure this out without any. you know, help. So
Guide.
that was the first one. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
then,
awesome.
yeah.
I was wondering because like so I had listened to a podcast with you on a different podcast, and it had mentioned that you had wrote the book, with your son in mind and
Mm,
other parents in mind. And I was
yeah.
just curious, man, like how long ago did you write the book, and how long did it take you to from start to finish, from idea to publish? How long did that take?
Ooh, going back, I wrote it about 4 to 5 years ago, and it was maybe about a year and a half of just like collecting all the stuff that we went through, and really kind of talking with him like this, because I wanted to be relatable not only to parents but also to kids.
Right,
I was like, is this what you're feeling? Is this what you think? Is this how, this resonates with you? And, because we all have an idea of what it resonates, how it resonates as parents, but
right,
I wanted one that kids could read and go, oh, this is what my mom is meaning. This is what my dad is meaning, and so
right.
about a
So
year
is
and
your
a
son
half
a
or so.
co-author?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. I didn't realize that until like
Mhm.
just now. I remembered hearing something about it, but I was like I wanted to ask real quick because if he's a co-author, that makes it even more special, right? Because it's father and son advice for other parents and children out there. That's pretty special.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I mean, he was still too young, so he's giving me advice and stuff like that on how to do it. So it was really cool, a fun moment, to do that together.
So
Definitely.
what kind of struggles did he come up against that you didn't know how to deal with?
Mostly the adults in the room. I'm just gonna keep it real. It's like a lot of, the adults in the room saying to him, which they said to me, which is like, oh, well, you want to do this, but this is gonna be hard, and you don't have this, or you don't have this ability, or you don't have this height, stature, or this strength. So it's, the odds and the probabilities. I was like, oh my God, you guys. So I was like, let's go find people that totally prove that this is not true. So we interviewed people that were, smart. Like, oddly enough, one of his coaches was Earl Boykins. Because
Really?
yeah, and so I'm like, you are 11 or 12-year old at the time, right? You've seen Earl. Is Earl 7 foot tall? It's like, no. And I'm like, are you like I'm going, you're about the height of Earl now. And he played in this league. So there's living proof in front of you that
Right.
you can still do this despite what these people are saying. And it's like, oh, so this someone said you can't do this because of this. There's someone right now who's doing it,
Right. So
you
are
know?
you an NFL fan?
Kind of. I'm not I'm kind of a sports person mostly because of him, but I do like the NFL. Why do you say that?
So Patrick Mahomes, do you know
Okay,
about
yeah,
Patrick
yeah,
Mahomes? When he first came to the league, there was a bunch of naysayers. They even talked about the size of his hands.
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember like, are his hands too small? And is he a little too shifty and coming
Yeah.
out of the pocket and stuff like
Yes.
that? It's and now that he's playing, and he's won a couple Super Bowls, like he's up there with the conversation with the best football players of all
Right.
time.
Right. Right.
And when he first came into the league, there was nonstop people just talking about his size and
Yes.
is he big enough? Is he
Yeah.
tall enough? Is he too
Yes.
fat? Is he too skinny? Is there,
Yes.
and he isn't like the prototypical
Right.
quarterback, but none of the great ones are, like look at Tom Brady, for instance. Like, is he a prototype? He's not even a prototypical athlete, you know?
Thank you.
And
Yes.
so he's widely considered the best
Yes.
quarterback of all time
Yes.
currently until Patrick
Yes.
Mahomes takes his place. But but
Nice.
like people people have talked about, like the prototypical quarterback being,
Yeah.
like 6'6",
Yes. Yes.
stocky but athletic, can run in and out of the pocket and
Yes.
can pass, and they have giant hands.
Yes.
They,
Yes.
they talk about all that stuff, but ultimately, like the greatest football players of all time were not prototypical at their
No.
positions. like
Yeah.
hardly any of them were. And
Right.
I mean, of course, you do have the people that set the standard, and that's where they get those
Right.
stereotypical size comparisons and stuff like that. But you know, the really the standout athletes, one of the
Right.
reasons why they stand out is because like they're the only ones at their positions that look the way they do, and they're
Right. Right.
ultimately the best at their positions.
Yeah.
I another one of my favorite football players, Travis Kelsey.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you look at Travis Kelsey, he doesn't look like a big muscular athlete,
Right.
but the
Right.
dude's 6'5",
Right.
and he can catch a ball,
Right.
so,
Right.
and he can run really fast. And then you see him on the gridiron, you see him on the football field, and when he's run, it almost looks like slow motion. And he kind of does this little shimmy when he shakes people off. And I'm like, looking at that on TV, I don't know how that works
Yeah.
because these small little shifty players that are on, like cornerback or
Right.
safety, they're looking at him and they're running right at him, but he does this little shimmy which looks ridiculous on TV to
Right.
me, but it
Right.
works. And it's
It
like
works.
on the field, the way he turns his shoulders, it makes him think he's going one way and he actually goes the
Right.
other way.
Right.
And it's incredible to watch those kind of things, and it's almost like a dance sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah. It's pretty
So
wild, isn't it? Yeah. It's pretty cool. It's really
so
good
life
stuff.
after 40, man. How old are you?
I'm 51, man.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
51. You look 41.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I just turned 40 this year and I look older
Yeah.
than you. That's
Yeah.
crazy. So, what made you want to write that book?
It was a moment of life where I was trying to figure it out for myself. And I thought to myself, how can I help the people coming right behind me who go through this, who go through the moment of your kid moved out, your kids are on in high school or college, you're starting to discover that you have time and that you're going to have even more, and you're like, what do I want to do with my life? And you're like, wait a minute, I don't really want to do what I did the first half. What is my purpose the second half? Like all these thoughts about like, well, can I do it? Am I too old to try this? Is it, all those things we go through when we were kids, we do them again at 45, 50, 40, whatever that midlife part is. And being able to get through that was really a struggle for me. So I was like, let me see if I can make it less of a struggle for the person coming behind me. So that's
That's
the
admirable,
reason behind
man. I love it. I love it because I
it.
mean, I think this podcast of my midlife crisis, you know,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
decided a couple years ago that I was like, man, I think I'd really like this and
yeah.
really try to do this. And the more I got into it, the more involved it really got. And it became not necessarily like what I thought it was going to be because I I really thought, to be honest with you, I thought it'd be easier than this. But
Yes, yes,
but
yes.
I never really thought of it as a midlife crisis until just this
Mm,
morning. I was
mm,
thinking about it because of your book, and I was
yeah,
trying to come up with things I was going to ask about. And
yeah.
when it really was kind of like a midlife crisis because
Mm,
I have four children.
right.
My oldest is 22, my youngest is 6. So I'm still a busy dad. I've got a 6-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 21-year-old, and a 22-year-old. And I've really kind of had two separate lives in that aspect. But it's for me, when I had my youngest son, I was worried because I was like, what the hell am I going to do, man? I wanted to travel. I wanted to do all of this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
And my wife was concerned about finances. She's like, how are we going to afford it? Because he was a surprise. How are we going to afford the expenses? And I'm like, come on now, I ain't even worried about that. I said,
Yeah.
listen, 10 years ago, $100 was a lot of money to us, you
It
know?
was. Yeah. Yeah.
And it seems like the now prices on baby stuff hasn't really gone up much. Of
Mm,
course there are expensive car seats, there's expensive
right.
strollers and expensive beds and all, but there is like the regular stuff for like regular people too. And it seems like everything's $100. But $100 to us back then was a lot different than $100 now,
Yeah.
or even 6 years ago. And I was telling my wife, I was like, I think we'll be fine on that. But like, where the hell are we going to get the time to raise a
Yeah.
kid, you know? And
Yeah.
so I was already a stay-at-home dad at that time. And so I just kept doing it. Now
Yeah.
all my kids are either moved out or in school. And so I had to figure out something to do with my time, you know? And
Yeah.
so I just filled it with like my own stuff that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that's really, I think my midlife crisis was finding out that I can be a person
Yeah. Yeah.
separate away from my kids. And while the podcast name is Coffee with Bearded Bad Dad, the Bad Dad moniker is kind of like an encapsulation of all the shit that I've heard about myself, like all the negative
Mm,
things that people say about me in the past versus how my family and my kids really feel about me. And it's like they don't feel like I'm a bad dad. They love
yeah.
who I am and how I am. And so I just kind of I took that and I was like, okay, well, if I'm a good dad, I still have my own personality. Like we were
Yeah.
just talking about cannabis. I grow my own cannabis inside my house.
Yeah.
It's legal where I live, but it hasn't always been legal. And I've always enjoyed cannabis. I've always smoked, since I was
Mm,
young, real young, a teenager. And so that does not define how I parent or,
mm,
if I am a good parent. Yes, I use drugs, but that doesn't define who I am. And I take all kinds of lessons that I've learned here and there. We're all just people. And if we hold ourselves to impossible standards, we'll never have fun, man. And I'm all about fun. I love having fun. And so is that what it was like for you writing that book? You wanted to kind of encapsulate how you felt and help other people through that moment because you were like, I kind of wish I had some guidance.
yeah. Hold on one second. Let me plug this in because my I'm sorry to do this. My
Oh, you're
computer
fine.
is acting crazy, and I want to make sure that we don't lose this.
You are totally fine.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I was like, there we
Oh
go.
no, it's gonna die. Yeah, I'm with you. I've had that same thing happen, like in the middle of a job interview, actually.
So, but yeah, so was I thinking about, other people struggling? Absolutely. Because I was like, man, well, here's the thing though. I went out there and I tried to find resources that kind of said what we were talking about before
Yes.
about, hey, you can do this in your second half. You can make this happen after 40. And most of the stuff was like, so it's time to wrap it up. And I'm like, okay, no,
Life is
thank you.
just beginning, though.
Right. It's like, because here's the thing, we at 40, at 45, 50, you actually now know the things you thought you knew when you were 20. You actually
That's
know the
right.
answers now.
That's
So
right.
why would you not take advantage of that information, that experience and that knowledge and use it to do a podcast or to whatever
Exactly.
you want to do? It's like we actually know what we're doing. That's the craziest thing to me to think. You've gone through all these struggles, you've gone through all these experiences, you actually know the answers to the test. Here's the test again, and you're like, nah, I don't think I can do it. That's wild to me.
Yes. Yeah,
So
it's
I was like,
wild to me too.
right? So I was like, let's write a book that let's create a resource that doesn't say, well, this is the end. So just, if you haven't done it now, then I'm like, oh my God. No, no, that can't be the only thing that survives out there in the
Yes.
world for people.
Right. Dude, I'm with you on that because like so when I I am only limited by my imagination and my bank account, and I try to like people like my age all the time struggle so much sometimes and they don't understand like man, it's in 2025, it's so much easier to make money than
Dude.
people understand. Even if like the struggle is real, I understand all
Yes,
that.
yes.
And it really kind of depends on where you live. Because if you live in if you live in rural America in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
you're gonna struggle. It's gonna be a little hard and you might have to move. But
Hmm.
where I live an hour north of Kansas City. Like there's so many opportunities to make money
Right. Right.
unconventionally, and gig work is before gig work even existed. Like the the DoorDash
Yep.
and
Yep.
Uber and all that. Before that even existed, there was taxi cabs, there
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
delivery drivers, there was all kinds of gig work that people did in their spare time to earn a little bit of change.
Right.
Now I understand at 40 years old how easy it is to build a business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And while I'm not very profitable right now, I am limited by my bank account. I cannot take my family money and spend it on wants and needs that aren't proven to make money. Like I
Mm.
can't I look at that similarly as gambling. If I take
Mm.
$1,500, if I
Right.
take $1,500 of quote unquote family money and spend it on something that I don't know is a for sure thing, I
Right.
feel really guilty about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I am perfectly okay where I'm at in life. We do make less than 100K a year, but it's one of those things. We live in the Midwest. We don't need much. We own our own home. We own our own vehicles. We don't need a whole lot. And that wisdom
Hmm.
came with age because
Yeah.
I'm not into the consumer shit anymore.
Right. 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 Right.
I
Yeah.
don't go to this I don't go shopping with the intent of buying things that I don't actually need. And that's things that kids do when they're like 20,
Yes.
25. They'll go out shopping for they don't need the jeans that they're buying
Right. Right.
or the shirts that they're buying or the shoes. Shoes is a big one for youngsters.
Yes.
They don't need that shit. And what they don't understand, and consumerism has gotten into their heads to make them feel like they have to have these things.
Right. 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 Right.
Whereas you and I didn't have that stuff growing up. Like when we
Dude.
first started, we had to struggle. We had to eat the ramen noodles while the kids
Yes.
ate good. We had to do
Yes.
those things,
Yes.
and we understood at the time that we do these things now in hopes that we won't have to do these things later. And I
Right.
think that's where me and my son kind of like what I finally understood where he was at was, oh, he thinks that I started out like with the best of the best. He didn't pay attention,
Yeah.
when he was
Yeah.
7, 8 years old, and we
Right.
had to
Right.
sit around reading books because we had no cable, you know, or because it was raining outside, we couldn't go hang out at the park or whatever, or because we were in the middle of an ice storm, we can't go
Right.
play outside or whatever the
Right.
thing might be. He didn't pay attention to all that because I made it so fun, you
Right.
know.
Right. Yeah.
And I think I did made it so fun because I grew up poor. I grew up with that struggle. I was like, oh, this is nothing. Like,
Yeah.
we have heat.
Yeah.
We can celebrate the fact that we have heat.
Hey, the
You know,
lights came on when I flipped the switch. We're good.
exactly,
Yes. Yes.
exactly. So,
Yes.
man, I really dig the fact that you wanted to help people pass that hump because, like, I
Yeah.
didn't struggle with it as much as everybody. I did have like a midlife crisis, but I
Yeah.
solved it and kind of worked on it on my own.
Yeah.
But sometimes people just get lost, dude. And
Yeah.
you look at them and they're 50, 60 years old and looking back like what the hell happened to the last 20 years, man? Now
Yeah.
they got one foot in the grave and they're like,
Yeah.
it's time for retirement. And I was just telling my wife the other day, I don't think I'll ever retire,
Yeah.
because I spent a big chunk of my life not working, being a stay-at-home dad,
Yeah.
and now work isn't work anymore.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so easy to like I take that back because working for somebody else is it's bullshit, and I don't recommend it for anybody. But but working for myself, doing what I want to do, and getting paid for it, it's
Mm,
like I wish that I had that when I was 20, but I wouldn't have been mature
right,
or wise
right,
enough to handle it. I would have
right.
gone way overboard with it and either went, because there's several directions that you could go. A lot of folks, if they have kids when they're young, but they have aspirations of being professionals
Right.
or big time people making $300,000-400,000 a year or whatever,
Yeah.
they internalize that and think that they because they have to choose being a parent or a career, and they don't understand that it's a ride, brother. You can take the kids with you on that ride, and
Yeah.
they'll love it.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done pretty much as like the whole time being a parent is it's I just take the kids with me on that ride. I don't go anywhere that my kids can't go.
Yeah.
If it's not like, and now don't get me wrong, I have taken my kids to places that aren't necessarily family friendly, but
Right.
that's again where that bad
Right.
dad moniker comes from. It doesn't make me a bad dad. I
Right.
just don't lie to my kids. I don't shield them
Right.
from the ugly parts of life, and I think they'll be better for that.
Yeah. No, definitely. Because they have to have the struggles. That's part of building their character, and they have to have the experiences. That's part of building their character. So yeah, no, definitely not.
So
Yeah.
where do you don't give me the exact location, but where are you? Like where do you live?
Oh, we're in Colorado. Yeah. Yeah.
Colorado. That's an awesome
Yeah.
place. I've
Yeah.
never spent much time there. I want to go on vacation there. Um, I'm so I would like to live in the mountains when I quote unquote grow up. I
Yeah.
would love to just get a chunk of land and just exist on a chunk of land. That's a dream for me.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to do in Colorado, but Tennessee is one of my favorite places.
Nice.
Have you lived in Colorado your whole life?
No, we lived in Houston in the beginning, and then LA, and then New York area. So
You've been
yeah,
all
we've been
over,
around. Yeah.
all over. So you've been south, now you're Midwest, and you've been
Yeah.
east and west. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Out of all those places, where's your favorite? Colorado?
Well, if I could mesh Colorado's like, I guess, cleanliness or whatever with the access to stuff in California, that would be the perfect place. Because I mean, there's so much access to so many different things and people and food and opportunities that, we just don't have here.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I can definitely understand that. So I
Yeah.
I went to San Francisco a couple years
Okay.
ago,
Hmm.
and it was my first time being in San Francisco. I didn't go all the way down to LA, but man, the freaking weather there is fantastic. And I if I could blend the West Coast weather with the East Coast feel, that would be awesome.
Oh, nice. You're an East Coast guy, so you like
No,
the.
actually, no, I'm not. I've lived in the
Oh,
Midwest my whole life.
oh,
I've
nice,
lived in
nice.
the Kansas City area my whole life, but I love to
Yeah,
travel.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I've been a little bit of everywhere. Tennessee is
Hmm.
probably my favorite place on earth because it's so green in the mountains
Oh, yeah,
there. Now
yeah.
in the winter it does look like, the mountains. But
Right.
for like 9 months out of the year, it is the greenest place you'll ever
Yeah,
be. West
yeah.
Virginia is the same way, but I've never been to West Virginia. I think for me, I just love being in nature, and
Mm,
in California there are a lot of secluded places where you can get away from
yeah.
people and all that, but
Mhm.
they're secluded, like really secluded. California is actually a massive state. People don't realize that until they get
Yeah,
out there,
yeah.
but it's really nice out there. I like it. I'm not a big fan of their politics. I got to be honest with that, but it's getting better out there. I know a lot of people out there, and
Yeah.
they all say if you can usually tell who your people are, out in
Mm,
California, and people really kind of stick to their own cliques and stuff like that, and echo
that's good.
chambers out there. So it is, no matter where your political affiliations lie, you've got your place out there, and I really love
Definitely.
that too. So
Cool.
being in Colorado, how long you been there?
Like around 20 years or so. So it's been a minute.
So what's the music scene like? I know it's definitely not East or West Coast, but what's the
Yeah.
music scene like in Colorado?
It's cool. I mean, but you gotta understand, it's like, we've been on
It's
in
cool.
LA and we've been in New York, so it's like it's a different level. And I think the thing, it's just not it's good. It's cool.
It's
It's good
cool.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So the music scene around here is like, of course, Kansas City is well known for like its jazz, and
Yeah.
the Midwest is, like obviously known for country music and stuff like that.
Mhm.
We're not too far from, I think we're like 4 hours from Oklahoma,
Okay.
and which Garth Brooks, Oklahoma, so
Yeah.
one of the biggest country music stars in the world. For me, country music, I'm not that fond of anymore
Oh.
because like it's changed so much from when I was a kid. And
Mm.
I'm really like a fan of like 90s country, but
Mm.
the music scene in Kansas City's probably right now as good as it's ever been.
Oh
The
wow.
underground scene is really hot right
Hmm.
now, and it's really awesome because like and the internet really helps being able to see all kinds of artists and new artists and different
Yeah.
artists and artists that aren't like there's all kinds like buskers, man. Buskers are
Okay. Yeah,
very
yeah.
they're very entertaining, and I watched this one busker. His name's Buttons the Busker, and
Mm.
he sings like different songs to the same tune. Like he beats on his
Okay. Yeah,
drum, and
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
it's the same kind of tune, and he plays the same tune on his guitar, but he switches it up to where it's different, with lyrics and stuff. It's so cool. You'll have to look him up. Buttons the Busker. Anytime I hear that guy, I'm in such a great mood. And it's made like seeing stuff like that on the internet has made me appreciate seeing it out on the street.
Yeah.
Do you find the internet helps your local music scene wherever you are, whether it be East, West Coast, Midwest?
I think the internet helps just in life if you're up for it because like you said, it's like you get to see um the in some cases what it really takes to do, things in life. And like, like you're talking about with buttons, it's like you get to really learn to appreciate his journey and what he's doing or
Yeah, so
creating
we get
because
to
you get to
see
watch
his
him.
journey.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, I think that's a big part of the internet these days. Yeah, definitely.
So
Definitely
have
sharing.
you done a lot of podcast interviews or
Recently I have because we did our own, but I've been doing a lot because I just want to really help people learn about, the book middle management. It's like when I was writing it, I liked it, but then I went back to do the editing and doing the audiobook and stuff like that. And I'm like, sometimes you read your stuff and you're like, okay, that was okay. This one I read, I was like, this is actually pretty darn good. I'm motivating myself, and rereading and re-editing. I was like, I want to make sure that people know about it. So I've been doing a few podcasts.
that's
Yeah.
man, that is awesome because I was one day I was trying to edit, like I was trying to hang out with my wife while she was editing the podcast one time,
Yeah.
and I'm listening. You know how lots of people say, or there's this thing where you can't stand the sound of your own voice.
Mm, yeah.
I'm not that way. I
Yeah. You like
love the
it
sound of my
sounds
own
good.
voice. It is, so my
Yeah.
voice is like a little nasally, and I'm okay with that. But like most people, when they hear their voice, and like I'm listening to my voice in these headphones right now,
Uh-huh.
and it doesn't bother me. I like it. It's
That's
so
awesome.
That's not the part that really bothers me, but saying stupid shit really bothers me. And like I'll hear it on a like my wife is editing the podcast and I'll be like, "Did I just say that? No, I didn't." And so I have to leave the room or else like I'll tell her to
Mm.
like, "Hey, you should cut that out," you know, and I don't like cutting I really I don't like editing big parts of conversations, or I really don't like editing at all.
Mm.
Now, I'm not the editor. It is a difficult job to do, but I
Yeah.
want the conversation to be as whole as possible.
Mm.
And I don't want anything hidden. I don't because like and now I'm pretty honest about it. The way I feel today on certain things may not be the way I feel tomorrow. And I'm pretty
Right.
open and honest about it. And that's the thing, open and honest. A lot of people when they do these podcasts, they're like, I got to be careful in saying this. And I do censor myself because there's rules on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all that good stuff. There's rules. Um, but socially, the way I tell people like I'm not an unreasonable person. I can change my opinion based on new information. Or if I think differently than you, and you come to me and you're like, "Hey, man, let's have a conversation about this. Let's talk about this," and we get into talking about details. My mind can be changed on things, but I'm not so obtuse to be like, um, to be married to ideas or be married to things that I say. I'm like, you know, if my opinion's different tomorrow, I will contradict myself, but I'll think about it and I'll
Right.
look back on it and I'll be like, I know that I said this, you know,
Right.
5 years ago, but listen, things have changed or whatever. And I
Right.
acknowledge that stuff. But for me in podcasting, I I really loved the the information that I learned when I started
Mm.
learning about like podcasts and started listening to podcasts. Joe Rogan is really fascinating. Whether
Mm.
you like his politics or you don't like his politics, whether you like the things that he's interested in or you don't like the things that he's interested in, he's very good at his job
Mm.
because it's just a conversation between two people. And I wanted to have this conversation with you because, like, when I saw all the things that you're into, like writing
Mm.
books, being a musician. I mean, you were on Broadway
Yeah.
doing Rent. You know,
Yeah.
um, that's so different from who the people I'm usually talking to, and
Mm.
it is so awesome. I'm the conversations that we can have just about nonsense.
Right.
You would think like this is okay, so this may be a very interesting conversation, entertaining, but
Right.
you don't always think of it as like helpful. And
Mm.
I've actually talked to a lot of people who are like, man, your podcast really helped me get through this moment in my life, or I really resonate that episode really resonated with me because the person you were talking to is very interesting, or they went through this and I'm going through this, and you don't really
Yeah.
think about that. Is that something that you've like thought about when you're doing podcasts? Is like the same thing with middle management? Just wanting to get your experiences out there and share it with the people so you might be able to um the way I look at it is like if I help one person, it's worth
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely, because it's like, you want to make sure that I think if you've been given an idea, like a podcast, like you're talking about right now, or a book or whatever, it's, what's that saying? There was a saying that I saw someone say, pear trees don't eat pears,
I've never
meaning
heard that.
meaning your fruit, the ideas, the things that you create are not meant for you. They're meant for other people, other things to enjoy. So
Hell yeah.
when you create, so that going back to the book, it's like, or anything that you create, when you have an idea, it's for other people. So I feel like it's our responsibility to get it out there so that other people can consume or take in or be blessed or helped by the information that we've been given. So
That's
yeah.
brilliant, man. So when asked what like my ideal listener would be,
Hmm.
or viewer for the podcast, when asked that question, I always say me.
Yeah.
And that's very interesting that you say that, because like you say what you say, it's not, what you are making, or what you're doing, or the podcast, it's not for you to consume, it's for everybody else. Now see,
Yeah.
for me, the way I kind of look at this whole podcast thing is, I want to make it a podcast that I would listen to.
Mm, mm.
And that's kind of what I
Yeah.
mean by that. Like,
Yeah.
and I have actually listened back to some of my older podcasts, and with fondness, and like, this is actually really, really entertaining, really good, and it kind of speaks to what you were saying about middle management. Did you do the voice reading yourself?
I did. I did.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That is really awesome. I love when authors do that. I hate when they hire it out. It's like there's no better narrator for your story than you. You know
Right, because you know what you meant. You know how your sentence is supposed to read.
exactly, and you can
Yeah.
change the pitch of your voice and
Yes.
your excitement level to match what's on the page, and then the reader or the listener hears it the way you intended it.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's very important. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how long is your, and middle management is your latest book, right? And it's
Yes, that's
just getting
correct.
ready to come out, or it's already
Yes.
out.
It's getting ready to come out, so it'll be out here in about a week or two. Yeah. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
And so how long is it? How many pages?
It's 130 pages. A real quick and easy read. Maybe about if you're listening on audio, it's like 2.5, 3 hours long or whatever on audio.
That's not bad.
Um, yeah, because I wanted people to be able, I mean, as you know, we don't have a lot of time to sit around and read and listen books. So it's like,
Oh,
and a lot of books that I get, they're like 7 hours, 10. I'm like, I don't have 7 hours, my
I
guy. I
got
love your
one book
book.
over there. I've got one book over there that I'm just so I'm waiting to crack into it. It it took the author 12 hours to read it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my goodness, I
Yes.
12 hours, like trying to come up with, now it's going to take me longer than 12 hours to read it. I know
Yes.
that.
Yes.
But trying to, between the podcast, my other hobbies, being a, like being a dad takes up like 90%
Yes.
of my day.
Yes.
From the time I wake up till the time I go to bed, I'm constantly on the go.
Yeah.
And for me, it's trying to, like, 2 or 3 hours, a block of 2 or 3 hours, I could find
Mhm.
that on a Saturday,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
But 12 hours, man, I'm almost afraid to, and I need to reach out to the guy, because like he's a friend.
Right.
And he came all the way down from East Coast to see me. So, and he's in a wheelchair. His name's Ken Kunkin is his name.
Okay.
And he actually, so he was in college and got into a football, he got a football injury, ended up uh quadriplegic. So he's paralyzed from the neck down.
Mm,
And we had a wonderful conversation, and he's a father. And like one of the funniest moments on the podcast is just asking him, like, okay, so inquiring minds want to know,
mm.
how did that happen? And so he told the story about how he had children, and
Yeah.
it was awesome, and it was an awesome experience. But all of those experiences are in that book, and I can I
Wow.
can I can devote, like, so I've thought about listening to the audiobook and reading it at the same time, and
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so I could pace myself in that 12 hours, because I
Mm,
know, like, I have ADHD and all that good stuff. So
mm,
I occasionally I'll get into a book and I'll find myself reading sentences 2 or 3 times
yeah.
over again, because I get lost or whatever. And that wouldn't happen if I'm reading at the same time the audiobook is going. But
Yeah.
I love the fact that you read it yourself, and Ken read his book himself, and I feel like I've almost that. that I've put it off, and I put it off because it's 12 hours. And so
12
I just
hours.
need to
Yeah.
get into it. I just need to get
Yeah.
into it because it's such he's such a fascinating guy, and it's a fascinating story.
Hmm.
I've heard all about him and his story. Um, but you know, when you're reading a book or like, well, you've written a book, you know that there's a lot more detail in
Right.
the
Right.
book than you can have in a conversation. And
Right.
and
Right.
and, and when you're writing, I've never written a book myself, but when you're writing, the it's almost like reading because then things come to your mind
Right.
differently than they would if you were speaking to another person like me. So, like, if you were telling me the story of your book from beginning to end without looking at your book, the story would
Hmm.
be totally different.
Right.
And
Right.
and and so that's really awesome that you read that, and I appreciate that a lot. I ask that a lot because I think authors should always read their own books.
Yes, and I mean, yeah. Again, it's like it's like, could you write a song as a musician? I mean, I guess you could. I guess a lot of people do, but write a song and then have someone else sing it. It's like, well, sure, they can cover it and it'll be their
Yeah,
interpretation. But is there something about the songwriter singing their own song that makes it a little different?
yeah. Well, that reminds me of a story of Hannah Montana. I can't remember her
Oh,
name.
nice. Miley Cyrus,
Miley
Cyrus,
Cyrus.
Cyrus. Yes.
Miley Cyrus has a song. Let's see. I'm gonna have to pull it up so I don't butcher it. Um, she has a song I like to party or something, or can't stop, won't stop.
Okay.
I think that's what it is. Um, gotta look it up. I gotta be faster at this.
Oh no, you're good. You're
So
good.
apparently, so can't stop, won't stop was actually written for Katy Perry,
Oh
and
wow.
so if
Hmm.
you listen to that song and then you think of Katy Perry, I'm like, what? I who wrote that for Katy Perry? Like, I'm so glad Katy Perry didn't. I'm so glad that Miley Cyrus did it instead of Katy
Right.
Perry. But it's like it's one of those things just like that. Like you're saying, like it's kind of like it, writing writing a song. You could write songs for other people with them in mind, and it might work that way.
Right, right,
But
right.
me writing a song and just putting it out there in the ethos for anybody to pick up, like I'm going to write a song and Troy Horne is going to sing it
Right.
or play it or whatever. It doesn't, if I was writing it for you, I think it works. It can work, but I'm like Katy Perry, can't stop, won't stop. It just doesn't work.
These kind of don't go together. Yeah, it's
Right.
interesting. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
very it's
it's very
very
interesting.
interesting because like there's a few artists out there that don't write their own music. Like there's
Yeah,
probably more than we know. To be
yeah,
honest with you, there's a lot of artists out there who wrote their own music, wrote their own stuff, and at the very beginning, and then ran out of material, and
yeah,
so now they outsource it to and that outsourcing allows them the time to come
right.
up with their own stuff. Do you write your own music too?
I do, and so yeah, I do. That's like because I want to tell a story, that I've experienced and stuff like that. So, I do write my own music. Whenever, actually, a funny story. I'm writing music with and for this book that will be a part of the book because I'm like, let's do
That's
something that
awesome.
people haven't done before. So
That's
there you go.
awesome. So it's I've not read the book. I need to borrow it from my sister and read it. But there's a book called The Heroin Diaries, and
Okay.
it's about Motley Crue, Nikki Sixx's life with Motley
Oh,
Crue.
nice.
And
Yeah.
so, have you ever heard of that band 6 a.m.?
No.
So Nikki Sixx has a band called 6 a.m.
Okay.
and it's Sixx
Mm-hmm.
AM.
Gotcha.
Um, it's Nikki Sixx, and he's got a whole band or whatever. But their entire first album was together with the book The Heroin Diaries, which was Nikki Sixx's like I don't know if it was like a
Nice.
autobiography. Yes, yes. So it's actually it's a
Well,
fantastic
now to
idea.
hear that,
Yeah, yeah. So check it out. The book is called Heroin Diaries, and if you're a Motley Crue fan, you'll definitely love the book.
dude.
Yeah, and I can't say that I've read the book. I can't say
Yeah,
that I have read the book, but I have listened to the entire first album that they had, and it was great from beginning to end.
yeah.
But it does go along with the book, so I mean that's pretty
That's
awesome.
awesome.
And so it's not a new thing, but it's
Yeah,
pretty
this is great because it's like, okay, so now I can get the book and listen to like how they execute this and how they put this together and yeah,
exactly. And so when you listen to some of the 6 a.m. songs, there's one their biggest hit. Let me Google 6 a.m. real quick, and
yeah,
it'll
I gotta
give
get
me
this
their
book
biggest
now. I'm
hit.
excited.
Life is Beautiful
Okay.
is their biggest hit. Life is Beautiful, and it is actually tied together with the book Heroin Diaries.
Oh, see now, yeah, I'm excited. Now I know exactly what I'm doing as soon as, yeah, this is great.
That's
That's
awesome.
cool.
Well, man, I think this would actually be a good place to wrap this up. We've been talking for a little over an hour. Um,
Mm,
so let's let's do this. You want to reach out to me like after the first of the year, and when after the book comes out, and then obviously you're going to be working on the album or whatever.
yeah,
Let's hook up again and let's talk about it.
that'd be cool. That'd be very cool. Yeah,
Awesome,
yeah.
awesome. Well, Troy Horne, it's been a pleasure. Where can people find you, man? Where can people find your books as well?
So you can find me at Troy Horn, TroyHorne.com. Pretty straightforward with that. And then I created this download that goes with the book called, and it's at middlemanagement.bio. And you can get a free, like, first 3 or 4 or 5 steps that I talk about in the book that you can get started on working through your own midlife transition. So,
And listen to this, man. You created a download to go along, like all this, man. I am so that's awesome. I'm sitting here in front of a computer that I don't fully understand, right?
yeah,
So I'm only 40. I'm a millennial, like I'm at the ass end of the millennials, but I'm a
yeah.
millennial. I'm an elder millennial, or what they may call a zennial, which would be Gen
Yeah,
X and
yeah,
millennial mixed together. But I've been on my phone, like I've been on my phone for so long, right? These
right.
smartphones, it's kind of
You're gonna
trained.
wait. Before you do that, I want to show you something.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
We have the
awesome.
same one. Isn't that awesome?
That is funny. But so I've been on these smartphones forever, since like 2007 or whatever.
Yeah,
And so it's trained, like I've lost the ability to navigate a computer or navigate
yeah,
software like I used to.
mm,
And I grew up with PCs. Like I got my first
yeah,
PC when I was like 7 in 1992.
yeah,
I grew up with the internet when the internet was just coming up. You know, I was
yeah,
growing up with that, so it's very strange to me to get on this computer. Like, oh, I'm struggling to operate this. I feel dumb, you know. And here you are in your 50s, bro, and you're doing you're I'm creating a download. I'm creating all this music and you're writing books. And
yeah,
man, this it's life after 40. Man, it gives me hope that when I'm in my 50s,
yeah,
or I know you're 51, but um you're still technically in your 50s.
yeah, yeah,
It gives me hope that in like 10, 11 years that I'm going to figure this shit out, and everything's going to be great. And
yeah,
man, with my life, I just love having fun. And that's
yeah,
the thing. I'm having fun with this. And my advice to everybody out there is to life after 40 doesn't suck. It really doesn't.
no,
You can make it a prison if you want,
right,
but man, for real, some of the greatest moments that I've ever had in life was after age 35,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like and while I have, a 6-year-old now, for me, being a parent is one of the greatest things about my life, but it isn't my life.
Right.
And I think it's something that people might, you know, get out of your book. Correct me if I'm wrong, but life doesn't end at 40, or life doesn't end after being a parent.
Right.
Um, it's just beginning.
It really is. And the thing that's funny about it is like you realize that you've seen all the cycles at least once or twice. It's like, oh, we're doing this again. Oh, we're doing
Yes.
that again.
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
like
I saw that when I
bell-bottom
was eight.
jeans,
Yeah,
man.
we're
I've
doing
seen
that part
bell-bottom
again.
jeans recently.
Yeah, yeah,
That's in
yeah.
the 70s. It's before my time even. But like it's
Yeah,
coming the 80s
yeah,
music, bro.
yeah,
80s music is um, it was good, you know.
yeah.
It kind of sucked too, but um it's making a comeback. Like 80s rock and roll is making a comeback, and then 90s rock and roll is making a comeback. But like
Yeah,
all these different eras that like people like, you're right, they're like we're doing this again.
yeah,
It is really exactly like that, isn't it?
yeah. It's kind of
That's
like,
awesome.
kind of like Groundhog Day, that movie in the 80s. It's like once you've seen it a couple of times, like, you're like, oh, I'm gonna tell you what he's gonna do, what she's gonna do. She's gonna go over here, they're gonna do that. I mean, could you
Yes.
imagine not continue to play the game of life when you know exactly what the playbook is?
Yes, what that's like politics today,
Yeah.
right? Like watching children, like young
Yeah.
adults freak out over
Yeah. It's
what's
like
going on right now.
seen
And I'm like,
this.
this happened a long time ago too.
Yeah.
You just don't
Yeah, we've seen
remember it.
this.
Like, 2000, 2001,
Yeah.
2002. There's a lot of repeating going on.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like young people are losing their minds, and I'm just say this too shall pass. We'll
Yes.
get over this, just like we got
Yes.
over like, even let's just say the United States economy really collapses,
Mhm.
and we're all hungry, and think like 1929, 1930,
Mm.
it, stock market crash. We will be okay. We will
We look
survive
good. We're
that.
still
Now,
here.
we will lose a lot of people along the way, but um, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
Definitely.
All right,
Definitely.
Troy. Well, I will let you enjoy your Saturday, man. It's been a great conversation, and like I said, after the first of the year, let's do this again, man.
That sounds great. And yeah, we'll be out there in the world, so it'll be fun.
Awesome. And we'll link all your we'll link your website. What is your
Troy
website
Horn,
again?
yeah, troyhorn.com. And then
troyhorn.com.
yep. And then
And you can find
middlemanagement.bio is the free download.
where all can you find the books? If you don't go to the website, can you find your books on Amazon?
Of course, yeah, yeah. You can just Google
Awesome.
Troy Horn on Amazon. I'm pretty sure that should bring up the books as well. So
And do you have a YouTube that you want to shout out, or
no, I mean no, because yeah, no.
yeah, okay. Okay. Right on, bro. All right. So like let's get together and in after the first of the year, and we'll discuss how your book's doing. We'll discuss like how the music's going for the book.
That sounds
We'll
great.
discuss the heroin. I'll try to I'll do this. I'll
Yeah,
try to read that book, Heroin Diaries, and we'll talk about
yeah,
that too. So,
definitely,
all right,
definitely.
fantastic, man. It's been awesome. Hang out with me for just a second. We'll let these guys go.
All right, sounds
All
good.
right, everybody. Troy Horne, troyhorn.com. Check out his books, Middle Management. You know what? Check out his music too. Check out all that good stuff. It's been a great conversation. And with going on a few hours of sleep this morning, this was exactly the conversation that I needed to have. And I appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out with me, man. We'll see you guys next week.